The world changes when the sun goes down. The familiar path you walked during the day becomes something else. Every tree looks like a tall, dark figure. Every sound is a warning. The wind whispers secrets you cannot understand. It tells you that you are not alone. It reminds you that you are a guest here, in a world that does not belong to you. The darkness holds things, old things, things that watch from just beyond the reach of your flashlight. They wait for you to make a mistake. You have a map, you have a compass, you have a light, but these tools are for the world of the day. At night, the rules are different. Tonight, we will walk down 3 of those dark paths. Sarah loved to hike alone. She found peace in the quiet of the mountains. The sound of her own footsteps was a comfort. The wind in the pine trees was a familiar song. This time, she chose a remote trail in the Sierra Nevadas. It was a trail few people used. She wanted to feel completely alone, away from the noise of the world. For the first day, she found exactly what she was looking for. There was only her, the trail, and the vast, silent wilderness. The sun was warm on her face. The air was clean and crisp. She felt strong. She felt safe. The second day was different. It was replaced by something else, a cold, prickling sensation on the back of her neck. It was the feeling of being watched. She would stop and listen, but she heard nothing. Only the wind, only the birds. She told herself it was just her imagination. The woods can play tricks on your mind. That night she made camp near a small stream. The fire crackled and spit, but it did not feel warm. The darkness around her felt heavy, like a thick blanket. She kept looking over her shoulder, into the deep black beyond her campsite. She saw nothing, but she could feel it. The presence was still there. It was closer now. She heard a twig snap far out in the woods. Then another, a little nearer. She grabbed her largest flashlight and shined it into the trees. The beam showed only empty trunks. They circled her tent just outside the ring of firelight. One step, then another. They sounded too heavy. They were not human. It sounded like something very large, walking on 2 legs. Sarah held her breath, listening. Every small sound made her heart pound. They circled. Round and round it went. The circling stopped. The silence that followed was worse. Was it standing right outside her tent? Was it watching her through the thin fabric wall? Suddenly, the side of her tent pushed inward. Something was leaning against it. It was huge, much larger than a person. It made no sound. It just leaned there, its immense weight testing the small dome. Sarah scrambled backward, trapped. Then, as slowly as it had appeared, the pressure was gone. The footsteps receded. She stayed awake for the rest of the night, clutching a knife. The sun had never seemed so welcome. But the terror was not over. As soon as it was light enough to see, Sarah burst out of her tent. She had to know what had been outside. There, in a patch of soft mud near the stream where she had filled water, a single, perfect footprint pressed deep into the earth. It was not a bear, not a man. It was shaped like a human foot, but enormous, twice the size of her own. The toes were long and thick. The arch was high. She did not finish packing. She grabbed her water, some food, and she ran. Not like a hiker, but like prey. She ran until she reached her car. She never went hiking alone again. David was an experienced hiker. He had hiked all over the country. He respected the wilderness, but he did not fear it. He was always prepared. He was exploring a dense forest in the Appalachian Mountains, following an old, unmarked trail. For 2 days, the hike was perfect. On the morning of the 3rd day, things started to feel strange. The trail seemed to change. Familiar markers were gone. The trees seemed to have moved. He checked his compass. It was spinning wildly. He checked his GPS. It could not find a signal. A thick fog rolled in, silent and sudden. It swallowed the forest, reducing visibility to only a few feet. He told himself not to panic. He would stay put and wait for the fog to lift. Hours passed. The fog did not lift. It grew thicker. The silence was absolute. David began to feel a deep sense of unease. This was not normal fog. This was not normal silence. He felt completely and utterly cut off from the world, like the only person left on Earth. The feeling of isolation was crushing. As dusk began, the fog started to glow with a faint pale light, not the light of the setting sun. He knew he could not stay. He had to try to find his way out. He walked. He could barely see his own feet. Every tree looked the same. Every direction felt wrong. He was walking blind, lost in a silent, glowing world. He was no longer a hiker. He was a ghost, walking through his own purgatory. He walked for what felt like hours. The glowing fog never faded. The silence was broken by a new sound, a soft whispering, faint at first, coming from all directions. He could not make out words at first, just a constant low murmur, like people talking in another room.
He called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" His voice sounded small and weak. The whispering stopped.
The silence that followed was even more terrifying. He stumbled on the entrance to a small cave, a dark opening in a rock face he did not remember seeing. He was tired and cold. The cave offered shelter. He hesitated, but the fog was unbearable. He clicked on his headlamp and stepped inside. The air inside was dry and still. For a moment, the whispering was gone. The beams swept across the cave walls. He froze. The walls were covered in carvings, not ancient petroglyphs, but strange geometric symbols and stick figures running from tall, thin shapes with many arms. Some carvings looked fresh. Someone, or something, had been carving recently. He ran his fingers over a new symbol. It felt cool and smooth. Who was carving these, and why? At the back of the cave was a pile. Backpacks, boots, a broken compass, water bottles, a collection of lost hikers' things, a shrine, a trophy room. His blood ran cold. He realized he was not the first to find this cave. The whispering started again, louder, clearer. Now he could understand words. At the mouth of the cave, a figure stood, tall, unnaturally thin, insect-like limbs outlined by the glowing fog. The whispering spoke names: Michael, Laura, Ben. Names pinned to the backpacks, to the trophies.
The creature pointed. "Stay," it said, "or run."
He chose survival. He lunged, not at the creature, but at the cave wall, scrambled up, found a narrow opening and squeezed through, bleeding, cut, but alive. He fell into the white fog and ran, and did not look back. We do not know what he became. He kept running. Some stories are so strange they defy all explanation. The story of the Dyatlov Pass incident is one of those. In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers, students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, set out into the Urals. The search party found their tent on the slope of Kolatsiakal. The tent cut open from the inside, their gear left behind. They had sliced their way out and fled into the night, some wearing only socks, some barefoot in sub-zero temperatures. 2 were found near a small fire at the tree line, dressed only in underwear, their hands burned as if they had tried to climb. 3 more were found trying to return to the tent. The final 4 were found later under 10 feet of snow in a ravine, with terrible internal injuries but little external trauma. 1 had a crushed skull, 2 had major chest fractures, injuries compared to a car crash, yet their clothing was intact. Theories range from avalanche to secret military tests, infrasound, even the Yeti. Nothing fits all the evidence. The official conclusion was a compelling natural force, but the case remains unsolved. What could make them flee shelter and choose a freezing death over the tent? What could cause such internal damage without external wounds? We may never know. The only ones who have the answers are the victims and the mountain. The stories of Sarah, David, and the Dyatlov group are different, but they share a common thread. They speak of a truth we often forget. The wilderness is not ours. It is an ancient world with its own rules and inhabitants. When we walk into the woods, we are visitors. We are trespassers. Sometimes we stumble into a place where we are not welcome. These are more than stories. They are reminders, questions without answers. A twig snaps behind you on an empty trail. You look over your shoulder. The forest has eyes. What did Sarah see? What did David find? What did the Dyatlov hikers flee from? We may never know. The forest remembers every footprint, every scream, every person who walked in and never walked out. So the next time you stand at the edge of the woods as the sun goes down, listen. Listen to the wind. Listen to the quiet. Remember that you are never truly alone. The forest has eyes. It has memories. It remembers every footprint, every scream, every person who walked in and never walked out. As you take your first step into the growing darkness, ask yourself, are you prepared for what might be waiting for you? Because the woods are deep, and they have secrets to keep. Some secrets are best left undisturbed. They are waiting for you just beyond the light. The forest remembers.